Good evening, folks. Triple Crown here, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is a round 12 summary of the Global War 1939 series, playtest number 5. And everybody wanted to see the major naval battle between the Allies in the Pacific and the Japanese Navy. And it is still there. And it grew by one cruiser. And the Americans and the British decided not to attack, and that is because there's something I've never seen before. Maybe others have, but it's a quintet air base. So actually 5 air base, and each air base has 3 fighters. So that would be a 15 plane scramble to defend the sea zone. I think it's 123. It doesn't matter what it's called. But anyways, there's an air base in the Philippines, which I didn't even think about, an air base in Hong Kong, an air base just north of that in Shantung, an air base in Shanghai, you can see there, and an air base in Formosa on the island. So that is the biggest 15 plane scramble I think I've ever heard of. I've heard of double air base scramble or triple. And so the Japanese all have their naval transports there as cannon fodder. Of course, they have to be taken last as casualty, but they still have to be taken last. So the Japanese, without their transports, have a combined 96 units total, including their 15 plane scramble. And if you add 11 transports, that's 107 units ready to defend that territory there. Whereas the Americans, well, they add. I didn't even have the total up. They would have been short. I think they had 85 attacking, so that was 10 short or something of that nature. So they moved up. This group of 6 destroyers there, 2 more B-29s, and the whole British fleet is now amalgamated. I took the advice from Captain G. Drawing a blank. And the Americans moved to Guam. She forgot to put it on. They have a naval base in Guam and an air base that was there. So this now British fleet is combined of about 30 units themselves, and the American fleet is combined of about, I'm gonna say 87. So the Allies, when are they gonna attack? What's going on? I know Warhammer, he's commented he wants to see it, so it's coming, folks. But that's the American fleet over there. And the Americans did move a couple aircraft carriers up to Hawaii, and the British moved, and the Canadians, an escort carrier and a destroyer. And over here in San Francisco, the Americans built a couple B-17s, 4 fighters, 2 destroyers, and 1 naval transport with a Pershing and a Marine. So that's what's slowly happening. The Japanese are still making like 95 in their economy because they still have control of a lot of these money islands. The Anzacs decided it was better to amalgamate their fleet than it was to sort of pick away down here. The KMT and the CCP and the Russians are trying to get as close to the coast as they can. They really wanted to get into Shantung. However, the Japanese did put up a blocker and they were not able to get through. The Japanese now are walking units up into Hong Kong, so if the Americans don't attack, there's just going to be another group of units there ready to counterattack or make life miserable for the attacking Allied ground forces. So over here, the British, their whole air force that was in Cairo is now sitting on Ceylon. Well, why did that happen? Their whole fleet here is sitting off the coast of Madras. They decided to not even bother defending Cairo. They abandoned ship. They did put up, at their minor factory, just a couple units. So the Italians still had to go in and take it. But first the Germans had to take Transjordan, and they went in with basically everything. They lost, I think, about 8 units still in total. So the British did do a landing here in Madras, and the Italians blitzed 5 armor over. They did have a blocker there, so they weren't able to get through. The Russians tried to send another tank into Sikeng, It was a T-34. The Italians didn't want to have any part of that, so they sent a fighter and a tactical to take it out, and they were successful in that attack. So those Italians are dead. I just removed some Italians that were on the board. Over here in the mainland of Italy, Italy is now making $53. So they built a heavy bomber and a couple more naval transports and a minor factory here in Tobruk because they are now back in Africa. This fleet here, this is the German fleet. It's actually sitting also off the coast of Cairo. And this marker here denotes the use of the Italian transports by the Kriegsmarine. So up to 2 naval transports per turn, which has to be declared at the start of the round, whatever round it is, are being loaned to the Kriegsmarine, and it's just denoted with a marker, so the Italians cannot use them. So next turn they can do it all again if they choose. And over here, the Germans are starting to build up a navy. They built another carrier, a battleship, a cruiser, and 5 more naval submarines and a medium bomber back here in Berlin. And now there is 4 Bismarcks on the board. I've never seen 4 German battleships on the board, so it's happening. The British here, potentially, they know they didn't bother doing a landing here along the west coast because the Germans are making like 125. The British are down to 50. And Sea Lion is maybe coming. So as soon as they're able to overpower this navy, they're gonna take it out. And after that, you're gonna see a landing in London. So the British built another 10 units in London. And they sent a couple naval transports back to Canada. The Canadians built a couple units in Quebec to rail across. And the leftover money that could not be spent in the Pacific at San Francisco, because they can only build 10 units, they built a couple transports, and so they're going to be getting another, in total here with the Canadians and Americans, another 9 units across to London next term. And over here, the Australians, they've got a small navy down here, 4 naval transports, an escort carrier, and a couple Z-Force infantry. I love these guys. Those guys, those are some bad-looking dudes. Anyways, over here in Sydney, they built another Z-Force, a naval transport, and an armor. So the Australians now are in position to maybe take some of the money islands back, or possibly they're sitting at a naval base. They could hit the Philippines next turn. So the Canadians also took, what's this little island here? Okinawa. The Canadians went in and took Okinawa. Okinawa was undefended, just for a potential landing space on a following subsequent round if they need their aircraft to land there. So just kind of getting in position. So the British also have an air base sitting here in Ceylon they built, which depending on what they do, are they going to try and take back Calcutta? And if they do, the Italians are right behind it. But the Italians also built an air base in Syria, which is where the entire Luftwaffe is. So the Luftwaffe could preemptively go and take out all of these British ground forces, which did do a landing, which maybe was a bad idea. And if they take them out, there will be no fight for Calcutta, so that will be over. Short and sweet. But had they remained on the naval transports, which I thought at the time, was a good idea because they had a blocker, but hey, this is a Gargantua move, or a G.I. Joe move. What I call when the Italians built an air base, and now their friends can use it. So that's deadly, because now, these units are probably going to die. So we'll see what happens there. That's what you call an air blitz, or at least that's what it's been referred to from my BBR community friends. So that's it. Stay tuned for round 13. 3 rounds left. And still not sure what's going to happen here. So stay tuned, folks.